he has multiple personality. Robert, as a child, he had been gone.
What your qualification is in the realm of psychology in order to be making this sort of assessment publicly?
What my professional? No, I don't have to be certified to do it. I mean,
He did these things.
Just because somebody in your life did something for a particular reason
The victim shame.
doesn't mean that that's what's going on with Kelly.
But they were proven in a court of law.
There's some people out there who are sociopathic. You'd lose your psychological license attempting to do something like that.
None of these arguments are justification.
the man need help. That's all I was saying.
He's going to get the help that he needs in the incarcerated facility he's going to.
We're having this moment of reckoning as a community.
But none of that time did he take that money to hire a professional to help him with his predilections. These ladies calling up talking about R. Kelly getting the help that he needs. What about the victims getting the help that they need?
It wasn't until there was an allegation about boys that it started to change. Yeah, that's not the best way to argue that. Guilty.
You're on the air live with Tonya TKO and Attorney Gerald Briggs. What's your name?
My name is Pam. And hi, Tonya. And hi, counselor.
Hey,
I
Pam,
just
how you
want
doing?
to make a. I'm great in yourself. I just
doing
want
great.
to make a statement. I hope he gets all the help that he can get because I think he has multiple personality. Robert, as a child, he had been gone. I think from all the sexual abuse he received, it wasn't not even just from the sister that the brother said, but an uncle as well, who was molesting the sister, then molesting him, and the sister doing it. So I think he had a mental breakdown. And have you guys ever heard?
Can you tell me what your qualification is in the realm of psychology in order to be making this sort of assessment publicly?
What my professional, being around people every day and watching acts of people and how they carry on.
So you're saying that you have been certified to be able to give psychological assessments because you watch people every day?
No, I don't have to be certified to do it. I mean,
you're
some
talking
things
about him
people
having
can just
multiple
see.
personalities. You're also talking about abuse that is rumored but not proven. So that's the part that's confusing. I'm going to let counselor take it over. Go ahead, counselor. You could speak.
Well, I mean, I'm not qualified to psychoanalyze anybody. I can just talk about the law. And again, that those allegations were never made under oath. So, I was expecting them to be made under oath, but they haven't. So I don't really want to delve into that. I know it's on the internet. I know it's on, YouTube, but I don't really want to go into what may or may not have happened. Once it's been vetted and cross-examined, then I'll go into that.
Right. I understand what you are saying. All I was just saying, like, I've been around a whole lot of mental abuse my entire life. And that's why I say you've seen this. Especially if you're in a family and it's cursed and you see how everyone's dynamic of thinking is. So I'm saying sometimes some people have gatekeepers over them to keep them. There's other people that comes out of them. Just like you can have a person acting this particular way one day, then the next day they're this person, then the next day they're this person.
So so it sounds like what you're doing is projecting what's going on in your own life or what has happened that you have seen personally and projecting that onto the Kelly situation as if what you've seen applies to him without any type of internal knowledge of what's actually going on with him or any type of psychological assessment that you have personally given to him. That's what it sounds like. And listen, I'm sorry
I'm going to listen to you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry for whatever has happened in your life and what it is that you have seen. We do not personally know R. Kelly or the reasons why he did the things that he did. And just because somebody in your life did something for a particular reason or was afflicted in a certain way doesn't mean that that's what's going on with Kelly. There's some people out there who are sociopathic, psychopaths, and who have all different types of both diagnosed and undiagnosed mental health issues, but we don't know. We are not psychological professionals. We are not licensed to be able to give that type of diagnosis, and none of us would be able to give that diagnosis from afar. You'd lose your psychological license attempting to do something like that. So last statement, and then I'm gonna let you go.
What I was saying was the man need help. That's all I was saying.
He's going to get the help that he needs in the incarcerated facility he's going to.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, you guys, you take care.
Okay, thank you.
Have a wonderful evening.
I don't know what's going on out here. I'm sure people heard you say that he's going to get some sort of psychological assistance at the facility he's going to, right?
Yes,
25 to life. He has
many.
many, many years, because when he had the opportunity to use his money, because somehow this musical quote unquote genius was able to memorize his songs, memorize the lyrics to the songs and the music and all of that. Attorney says he was writing stuff down in court, but with all of that money and realizing he had an issue, skating free in 2008/9, but none of that time did he take that money to hire a professional to help him with his predilections. Come on. He had many opportunities to be able to, like, this didn't have to, he continued. Not only that, but it's alleged that he's kept people from their children, that he's absconded children, kidnapped them, trafficked them, and all of this. But he never stopped. In all of this time, as a matter of fact, people are saying he became more emboldened. So he had the opportunity to get the help on his own accord. Like, if they had brought up this surviving R. Kelly, and R. Kelly could show a history of having his own self-initiated psychological assistance and help and stopped his behavior, do you think he would be where he is now, counselor?
Probably not. I think if he had learned from the 2008, 2009 issue and moved on and actually stopped this behavior, we wouldn't be here. And I think that if he wasn't enabled for such a long time, by some of the things that people are saying right now. And again, none of this stuff applies in a court of law. None of these arguments are justification for violation of RICO and the Mann Act for sexually trafficking young, underage people. So I just think that what people need to understand, and I know it's hard, we grew up with an image of this particular person. And we don't want to separate the image from what we're hearing right now. But for 4.5 weeks in trial, he had an opportunity to put forth all of these arguments and this evidence and all of those things, which he did none of that. And a jury heard it. They were given the law by the judge. They compared the facts and evidence to the law and came up with a decision that speaks the truth. That's called a verdict. And that verdict was guilty. It took them 9 hours. 4.5 week trial, 9 hours.
Absolutely. You know what somebody brought up in the comments? All of these ladies calling up talking about R. Kelly getting the help that he needs. What about the victims getting the help that they need? What about Joycelyn getting the help that she needs? What about Azriel Cleary and Dominique and these ladies, these young ladies, getting the assistance that they need to help with the psychological issues that were inflicted on them by him? What about all of the girls that we don't know about who may have been harmed by this man? What about the help that they need? You know what I'm saying? I just said, like you said, Joycelyn still hasn't been in contact with her family. Her grandfather died. Her grandmother was sick. She still hasn't come home or contacted them.
And I think that's what this was all about. And that's why my clients have empowered me to talk. Nobody's talking about the trauma that these victims are still facing. Listen, everybody sees what's going on social media. We see in the comments the victim shaming that continues to happen. Mm-hmm. What about this? And what about that? And what about this? At some point, we as a community have to wrap our arms around these individuals that suffered alone for such a long time with people not believing them. Many of them didn't come forward because they knew nobody would believe them. But because we're in a new era where lawyers are believing them, where law enforcement believe in them, and now juries are believing them, we're having this moment of reckoning as a community. And it's time for us to fully embrace he did these things. Why? Because they were proven in a court of law. Now, if there really was some type of railroading and all that, which didn't happen, he has an opportunity to appeal. He has lawyers for that. We need to support these victims. We need to hold them up. We need to let them know they are supported and that their voices were heard.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. There are people who are trying to call in, but there's so many calls that are butting up against one another that the calls are not coming through. But this is something else. I'm stunned by what it is that I've heard. What is the most stunning thing that you've heard from the public, counselor?
Oh, man. I mean, aside from the insults, just the very fact that I now understand why it was so hard for women to come forward, simply because they are being shamed relentlessly. There are pages on social media whose sole purpose is to shame these women. And it wasn't until there was an allegation about boys that it started to change. And that part blew my mind, because it was like the things that these women have detailed very publicly were so atrocious that, it blew my mind when, I was sitting there listening to them before it became public. And I'm like, wait, what happened? And then what? And then when we saw the G-rated version of Surviving R. Kelly, I had to decompress a little bit to be like, wow. I mean, how do you survive something like that? And then you are blamed. So, I think the craziest things was finally hearing it from a witness stand under oath, and then coming back on social media and hearing people say, where there's no evidence, that person just saying that, even though that day in court, they had DNA evidence and a video that the jury watched. And then you listen to the cross-examination and you're like, really, that's the best you could come up with? These people are lying because they want to become famous for being smeared. Yeah, that's not the best way to argue that. And of course, the jury said that. So just that. And, this is going to be one of those cases that I will always remember, and I was hopeful that the jury would hear it the way most rational individuals would hear this, and they did. And, I'm hopeful that these victims, these survivors will be able to live fairly reasonable lives, but they are now public figures who people are still shaming.
Yeah.
Watch the full video on YouTube or Facebook at Tonya TKO, link in the description. It's at Tonya TKO on YouTube and at Tonya TKO Show on Facebook.